Well, hello everyone. Hope you all are very fine. I'm going to extend my warm welcome to you all. Okay, mic
Thank
opening
you, sir.
off. Pranay. Make sure that you have check on your mic. It must be off. All right. Okay. Our subject is basically a theoretical perspective of crime and criminal behavior, and our today's topic is this learning perspective, the social learning explanation of criminal behavior. Okay. So today, the first of all, we have to go. We have the theme, the title of Differential Association by Edwin Sutherland. So our theory that is we are going to take up today is Differential Association by Edwin Sutherland. We have already discussed the major points of this theory in our class way back in our February. Today, I'm going to revise this theory of Sutherland and I again try to explain the link of this theory with the crime, particularly the crime in our country. Okay, so to try to be very, very attentive and try to take your notes as well, and if you have any question, you can write down the question, and then you can either send the question through this chat box, or you can later ask the question me when we have the question answer session at the end of the class. Okay. All right. So we are formally starting with this theory. Now, as you know that we have different perspective of criminal behaviors, and we also always know that we have to take up the sociological explanation of crime and criminal behavior. The sociological explanation of crime and criminal behavior. So within this perspective, we have again a variety of explanation of crime. We have social learning perspective, we have social control perspective, we have social structural perspective, we have labeling perspective. These all are perspectives that are basically based on the larger perspective or sociological explanation of criminal behavior. Okay. Now, the first thing that we have to keep in our mind that how crime can be explained in terms of learning, in terms of society. What are the ways, techniques, skills that a person eventually learn and later he involved in particular world of crime. Okay. Every theory of crime. Hello, am I audible to you? आवाज आ रही मेरी? Any one of you
Yes, sir.
confirm?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Are
Okay, all right, okay,
सर आ
okay,
रही है सर
okay.
yes, sir. Complete आवाज आ रही है, sir.
ठीक है जी, ठीक है जी, ठीक है, okay, okay. So we have to keep this thing in mind that when criminal commit crimes, particularly, we have to relate. We have to come with ideas. We have to relate the perspective of crime within the perspective of that particular crime. Because criminality has a multiple dimension. Some crime are occasional crimes. Some crimes are being committed by need, and some because some people have the choice opportunity for crimes. But here, this perspective of Sutherland is basically explaining the crimes of professional criminals who learn crimes through certain techniques, and those techniques later become the reason or factors behind their criminality. So we have to be very careful while studying this perspective that Sutherland has explained this crime in terms of learning the crime skills, learning the techniques of crime, learning the motives, drives, rationalization of the crime, so that the person may involve in the criminal behavior. Okay. So let's examine the background of Sutherland. Sutherland was an American sociologist who has the expertise, who has written a book in 1939. The edition with the title of The Principles of Criminology. He then revised the theory of association in his fourth edition in 1947. Since then, the theory of differential association has remained popular in the field of criminology and has sparked a great deal of research. Okay. मतलब पहला edition था that was written in 1939, but in later in fourth edition, which was written in 1947, Sutherland has give the idea of differential association. Okay, so let's examine the theory of differential association. Okay, now the first point, the first principle of this theory that is quite very important principle, that is the criminal behavior is a learned behavior. Mean that the crime or criminal behavior is basically a learned behavior. It is not something that is biological, or it is not natural or instinctive behavior. Because we all already knowing that we acquire behavior through different ways. Okay, कुछ ऐसे behaviors हैं that are part of human nature. They are known as instinctive behavior, biological behaviors. We never need any sort of learning. Okay, but some behaviors are not like that. Some behavior are purely learned through a process. Okay, now if you have to drive a car, you have to learn the skill of driving. You cannot become a driver just just by imitating, just by observing, or just by your birds, or just by listening someone. You have to involve in certain process of learning. Okay. Similarly, there are different behaviors that can only be learned through this particular process. So Sutherland believe the criminal behavior or crime is one of those behavior that can only be learned. Okay, so it shows that criminal behavior is a learned behavior. We can acquire criminal behavior through a certain process, which I come later on. But the prime thing that we have to focus here, as told by the Sutherland, that we learn crime, and it is basically a social learning process basically. Okay, number two, criminal behavior is learned in interaction with other person in a process of communication. The criminal behavior is learned in interaction with other persons in a process of communication. Now, the next thing that come in your mind, how we acquire that particular criminal behavior. It means that, of course, it is a learned behavior. We agree on these grounds. Okay. But the thing that comes in our mind later on, what is the process of learning? Whether we learn through this classical conditioning, we learn through operant conditioning principle, learn through observation only. For that, Sutherland has clarified in his second principle of this theory when he said that criminal behavior is learned in particular process, and that the process that he told that is interaction with with others in the process of communication. Okay, so so if you explain this principle, we will believe that criminal behavior is primarily learned through interaction and through communication with others. Okay, and that interaction and communication is basically with others. Others won't say that is third principle, but we have to keep this thing in our mind कि जो crime है वो primarily हम learn करते हैं दूसरे लोगों से, और वो process जो होता है learn करने का वो communication based होता है. Until we are not interacting with them, we are not meeting with them, we are not having relation with them, we may not learn these sort of techniques. Okay, so this is not something that we have to analyze that we just we just commit crime out of choice, or we have some other ways, but particularly the interaction for the learning this behavior.
सर आवाज नहीं आ रही आपकी।
आवाज किसको नहीं आ रही? सबको नहीं आ रही? Am I
नहीं
audible
सर,
to
हमें आ
all?
रही है।
आ रही है आपको?
आ
अगर
रही है।
जी, अगर ये किसी एक दो को नहीं आ
यस
रही तो
यस
आप
सर
अपना
सर
अपना
सबको
इंटरनेट
आई है।
फॉल्ट है, तो उसको आप अपने आप को चेक कर लें, रीज्वाइन
सर
कर
आ
लें
रही है।
जी। ठीक है, अगर एक कोई आवाज आ रही है इसका मतलब फॉल्ट मेरा नहीं है, ठीक है जी।
ओके सर।
ऑलराइट, so yes, so criminal behavior is learned in interaction with other person in a process of communication. Number two, and number three, learning criminal behavior. Learning criminal behavior occurs within primary groups. Okay, between criminal की जो learning है वो primarily occur या होती है within primary groups. कौन से होते हैं? Like your family, your friends, your peers, the most close partners, the personal companions, associates, fellows, okay, siblings, okay, those whom we call as peers and friends and intimate group partners. Okay, now these are been told by Sutherland as they are the agents of socialization. These people they have been known as they are the people whom from we can actually learn. Now, now Now, if we go back and have revised these three principles up to now, the first thing he's told that crime can be learned is a learned behavior. Number two, second, he said it's learned through interaction, through a communication process, and then from whom we can learn, which is very important because हम हर किसी बंदे से नहीं सीख सकते. अगर हमारा पड़ोसी कोई क्रिमिनल है, तो it's not mandatory कि हम भी क्रिमिनल हो. और हमारा कोई रिश्तेदार दूर का क्रिमिनल है, तो it's not mandatory कि हम जरूर क्रिमिनल ही होंगे या हम क्राइम सीखे होंगे. So we have to be very very careful. And we have to find out the relationship that वो कौन से ग्रुप पार्टनर्स हैं या ऐसे लोग एसोसिएट्स हैं जिनका हम पर असर ज्यादा हो सकता है या होता है. So that we can try to create a link a relationship regarding while we try to predict criminal behavior, when we try to research on the that sort of crimes. Okay, so according to the crime हमेशा जो सीखा जाता है that is through interaction and communication that must be from intimate group partner. आप देखें family we call it a home, and where we have some very close people like parents, like siblings, and like we have the some cousins and other associates. You know that हम कितना भी चाहें, we cannot avoid influence. Okay, because you know, कुछ चीजें तो हमारे part of nature होती हैं, biological होती हैं. We'll debate on these aspects later on. लेकिन कुछ ऐसी चीजें होती है because we got birth in environment, और फिर हम अवॉइड नहीं कर सकते. हमारे माँ बाप कैसे भी हो, we have no control how they are behaving with us, how they are treating us, how they are training us. Okay, हमारे बड़े बड़े बहन भाई cousins या जो बाकी घर वाले हैं, how they are behaving with us, what sort of values they carry, what culture they portray. Okay, so ये चीजें हमारे कंट्रोल में नहीं होती. हम कितना भी चाहें, we may not avoid the influence. Okay, so at the end of the day, हम हमेशा कुछ ना कुछ सीखते हैं उनसे. Now, if you have this some good sort of the learning, naturally the learning is quite positive. But unluckily, if you have carry with the bad values and that bad practice of the custom and culture, naturally, हम कितना भी चाहें, in our early age, we may not avoid that bad influence. So for that reason, it has been told by the Sutherland that most of those criminals who learn criminal skill or technique, particularly juveniles or those young offenders, because this theory again was primarily tested on the juveniles as well. Okay, so those carry those criminal habits or criminal potential from most of time from the close associates, ज़्यादातर from parents, then sibling, then those your fellows, your class fellows, mates, and your हम उम्र जो लोग होते हैं जिनसे हम खेलते हैं और ज्यादा टाइम स्पेंड करते हैं. Okay, so this was the third principle of Sutherland. So fourth one is the learning criminal behavior involving the learning techniques, motives, drives, rationalization, and attitudes. Okay, mean the process of learning criminal behavior may include learning about techniques to carry out the behavior, as well as the motives and rationalization that would justify criminal activity and attitude necessary to orient individual towards such activity. तो द फोर्थ पॉइंट एक्सप्लेन दैट कि हम वो क्या सीखते हैं जिसके बुनियाद पर we rationalize and justify crime, and then we try to involve in a criminal behavior. Okay, so for that, Sutherland says the learning criminal behavior involve what are the particular prerequisite or the parameters and what includes in learning, because learning, we always learn something out of so many things. Like writing is a skill, we may have reading is a skill, we may have we try to present an idea, that may be a skill, and there are variety of skill and methodologies for particular behavior. Okay, so for learning crime, it involves the techniques of crime, the motives, the drives, and rationalization and attitude of the crime. For the first thing is that we can call it like motives. What is the motive? Behind every crime there's one or the other motive. Without a motive, no sane person may go for a crime. हम कोई भी crime हम प्लान कर रहे हो, खुदा ना खास्ता कोई भी कर रहा हो, तो जब तक उसको कोई फायदा उसकी नजर में नहीं होगा, कोई ना कोई ऑब्जेक्ट उसके नजर में नहीं होगा, वो कभी भी क्राइम करने का नहीं लेगा. ऑब्जेक्ट क्या हो सकता है? मे बी प्रॉपर्टी, मे बी एनिमिटी, it may be settling a dispute, it may be some other reason. So there's always one or the other crime object or motive of particular criminal activity. Okay. तो उसी perspective में Sutherland said that हम जो भी सीखते हैं through the process of communication, interaction from others, okay, उसमें सबसे अहम होता है वो होता है हमारे criminal motives. Okay. और वो हम किस तरीके से सीखते हैं? Of course we learn from the other person. Now if suppose करें हमारा एक बड़ा क्लोज सर्कल एसोसिएट जिससे हम बड़ा ट्रस्ट करते हैं, जो बड़ा करीब है, हमारे सम टाइम गुजारते हैं, जिसका असर हम लेते हैं, अगर वो बार बार ये बात कहे कि कि so if you take it in that way कि गरीब के पास कोई ऑप्शन नहीं है, अगर आप गरीब हैं तो यू हैव नो रिस्पेक्ट, यू कैन हैव नो ऑप्शन एक्सपेक्ट टू इन्वॉल्व इन क्राइम और चोरी आप करें, तो वो जो उसकी वो जो जस्टिफिकेशन होगी क्राइम की या उसका जो क्राइम मोटिव होगा, दैट मे विल गिव यू एन इंस्पिरेशन, यू मे टेक इट एज इंस्पिरेशन, यू मे इन्फ्लुएंस बाय दैट पर्टिकुलर नेगेटिव आइडिया. ओके, तो उसी तरीके से वो अगर कोई भी क्राइम करता है और सक्सेसफुली करके उसकी लाइफ चेंज हो जाती है, इन दैट वे लाइक ही हैज अर्नड समथिंग, ही हैज गॉट बेनिफिटेड फ्रॉम दैट क्रिमिनल एक्टिविटी एंड ही रिमेन अनपनिश्ड. सो उसका असर में क्या पड़ता है कि हम देखते हैं वो किस तरीके से काम करके क्राइम करके वो उससे उसने फायदा उठा लिया. तो इवेंचुअली उसका मोटिव और जो हमारा मोटिव होता है टू अर्न वेल्थ, टू अर्न मनी, ओके, टू बिकम सक्सेसफुल, वो अदरवाइज हम नहीं कर पाते. बट व्हेनेवर वी हैव द रोल मॉडल, अ क्रिमिनल रोल मॉडल, so that impacted and influenced our behavior. And हम भी कोशिश करते हैं कि हम भी कोई भी अपना हम जितने हमारे मोटिव्स हैं उनको हम थ्रू टाइम अचीव करें, which is the part of learning criminal behavior. Okay. So the motive of crimes that can be learned through those agents of socialization, through a process of communication. Okay. And then of course attitude of crime. Okay, we sorry, we got techniques of crime. Techniques हम कहते हैं the skill of crime. Okay, through what way a person may commit a crime. You know, crime without skill may be a half-hearted attempt. It may not be a proper crime. Okay, so every person who try to who to seek career in a crime, who become professional criminal, must have the expertise on particular skill of the crime. Okay, अब मैं क्लास में बात कर चुका हूँ उस पर, like a pickpocketing is a skill, shooting is a skill. Okay, अब अगर किसी को pickpocketing की स्किल नहीं होगी तो वो कभी भी ये रिस्क नहीं लेगा कि वो जाके किसी का कोई वॉलेट